And welcome back to the Supercharge Your Success Summit. And I'm delighted to introduce today's guest to you, Dr. Michelle Casto. Now, Dr. Casto is an international best-selling author, speaker, abundance energy alchemist, and she's also a purpose and success coach whose mission is to empower awakening people to discover and live their greatest destiny. For over 2 decades now, she's diligently studied and applied various healing modalities with some of the brightest lights on the planet. This awakening journey has led her to develop her own divinely guided quantum success energetics method, which is a transformational technology that helps her clients to release hidden barriers that may be blocking them from achieving their path and answering this question: what will it take for me to be living my greatest destiny? Thank you for joining me, Michelle. It's wonderful to have you here today.
Oh, I'm honored to be your guest and, excited to talk about this important topic and connect with people. And supercharger success is, a term that I use a lot too, because there's that energetic behind it. And I can't wait to see where we go with our conversation.
Same here. And I know your work is absolutely aligned with this summit. So I'm looking forward to your interview. So tell me, Michelle, perhaps you could start by telling us a bit more about your work and what arrived you, really, what took you on your journey to be doing the work you do.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so I got into career counseling to find that out as a bridge. And then that led me to coaching very early on. So luckily I've been on my purpose path for 15 or more years now. Right. And my work has evolved into really working with light workers and change agents to help them with their abundance frequency. And it's one thing to wake up and discover that you have a purpose. It's another to find that purpose. And then it's a third piece of the puzzle to actually prosper with your purpose. And so I really, really love to work with change agents who are on that path, because it's a unique path. And it's an important path, and one that I'm really dedicated to myself, and I'm dedicated to seeing others succeed on it.
Fantastic. Now, you talked there about light workers and change workers, which I think is a fascinating term and something I've come across with. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, light workers are those of us on the planet that I would call sensitive souls. We're the empathic, intuitive, creative ones that want to bring about a change. That are highly aware of when systems and people are full of crap, honestly. Yeah. Those are the more edgy ones, which I consider myself an edgy light worker. Like, if I had a sword of truth, I'd be kind of waving it around a lot of places. Yeah. Because it's just a lot of things that are ready to be upgraded and shifted. Yeah. So these folks were born into usually situations where they didn't get a lot of respect, love, or attention or nurturance to grow that sensitivity. Yeah. And I'm really passionate about helping them recover their innocence and their confidence and their deservability and their worthiness. Yeah. Because a lot of times they have lost that a little bit along the way. Yeah. And part of their process is to kind of step back into that and really show up in their empowerment.
Oh, wow. So very powerful work. And you talked there about a purpose. Do you believe that we all have a purpose on this planet? Are we here all for purpose? And how do we start to uncover that?
I really do. I believe that, we all have the universal purpose of being here on earth to learn how to love and to grow in our ability to be loving and forgiving human beings. And then each of us has an individual purpose. And the way that I talk about purpose and teach purpose is that, we have a masculine purpose, which is typically what people think of when they think about what am I here to do, or that contribution thing. That's the change agent part of us. But we also have a feminine purpose, which is who are we when we're relating with each other and we have harmonious relationships. And that feminine nature is very important as well. And of course, we're the happiest and most fulfilled when we are being our highest in both of those. Yeah. And so I really I'm one of those teachers that is here to bring the balance and is here to teach the both and. It's not just one or the other anymore. It's we're holistic beings. We want to have access to each sides of our purpose, each side of the material world, and access to the spiritual world. But we have to be grounded in our purpose too, because sometimes it's just too out there, or it seems too big. And even with the contribution piece, it doesn't always have to be this big thing, right? You can be on purpose working at a normal job, but it's who you're being and the love that you're sharing and the energy that you're kind of transmitting that tells me if you're on purpose or not.
Yes. Yeah, definitely, because contribution, we think about it, it has to be this huge, serving thousands of people, but in reality it can be contributing to just your immediate environment, to, you know, the family that you love, the people that are around you in a smaller way, but that's still
your community.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all the same to spirit, whether we write a best-selling book or whether we write, you know, a blog post that a few people read. You know, it's spreading that seed of awareness and enlightenment for someone, and we never know who we're impacting. So, and yet, a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to figure out their purpose, and I'm really, really excellent at helping them kind of cut through all the maze that it seems to be, and get to the real simplicity of it, so that you can just start living it and being it.
Yeah. So why are we disconnected from that purpose? Why are we perhaps born knowing that, but we're obviously too young at that point? Why are we not so easily able to identify that?
A lot of times it's what our greatest strength is, and it comes so easily that we just overlook it, right? So it could be too easy that I could just be myself and, you know, have a conversation with somebody and change their life. And actually that's kind of what a coach is, if you're really good at it. Another piece of the puzzle is that because we follow a lot of social conditioning, so we follow a career path and get on a path and dedicate a lot of time and energy to that. And even though we may know there's something else we would like to do, that's off path, and we don't know anything about that. So there's a lot of fear to change that path that you've been conditioned to go on. So a lot of folks will just stay with a career or job path for, you know, a decade or more too long because they're afraid to make the change. And I see that that's what holds a lot of folks back. And then one more piece of that is just the self-confidence that who you are is enough. You know, who am I to be a teacher, a speaker, a healer, a teacher, you know, some of these more off-base, off-path things. You know, we all kind of suffer with that who am I syndrome, and you know, we have to get back into alignment with our confidence to say, well, who am I not to be? You know, I am a divine child of something higher, and I'm here to express that and share that.
Huge work. But sometimes in doing that, it can require a great deal of courage to about turn. You've been on a certain track, and as you say, maybe it's expected, maybe parental expectations or society or whatever it may be. So to stop and make that shift can be quite a huge one to do. I mean, myself, I was actually in accounting before I realized it really was not my purpose, and fortunately I was guided by, I had some great, you know, advice, well, support to allow me to step in and retrain and be a doctor, which was absolutely the right thing to do. It did take a lot of, as well, soul searching and really questioning, and a great leap of faith to just go and do that. How do you guide people through making that transition to connect with, find, and start to follow their path?
Well, I wrote the book about it, and the book really lays it out. But briefly here for our time, you know, it's simple, and I've made sort of like this huge question kind of simple, but there are 6 stages that I notice that we go through. You know, when we start to have our awakening, we wake up and think, oh, there must be something more for me out there. I want to do something else. This is no longer serving me. And then we start to get awareness. So we might have some dreams or read a book or listen to a telesummit and go, wow, you know, wow, there's something else for me. So we get awareness about it. Then we have to move into accepting. See, a lot of times we might even know who we are, what we're meant to do, or have some ideas, but we haven't accepted it yet. We haven't said, yes, I'm willing to be that, which is the 3rd step. And then we need to be able to articulate it. And these are all A's, by the way, 6 A's. Awareness, awakening, awareness, acceptance, and now we're on stage 4, which is articulation, which is you really start to come into your purpose when you can name it and claim it and put words to it. You know, I'm a transformational guide for awakening people who want to live with more confidence. That would be a way of saying, wow, okay, I kind of get what that is. And articulation is really important because I see a lot of folks getting stuck in, like, when they don't know their purpose, it's like they'll write a paragraph of a bunch of flowery words, but it doesn't say anything.
Yes.
So your purpose, when you really get it, like you said, one of my terms is abundance energy alchemist.
Yeah, I love that.
You know, 5 or less words, if you can name it, that kind of tells somebody what you're up to when you're working with them. And that would be an example of articulating the purpose.
Like a definition.
So once we have all those, then we can actually get into action, which is stage 5. You know, but a lot of folks come to me or you and they say, well, I just want to know my purpose. Just tell me what I'm supposed to do when I grow up.
Yeah.
And that's at stage 5. You don't want to you don't want to do things before your time, because a lot of folks do start chasing what I call chasing opportunity versus creating on purpose. So they say the next great thing in careers, and so they go running after it, and it may have no alignment with them whatsoever. But they're in action, but it's the wrong action, see? So we want it to be inspired action. And then stage 6 is what I call allowance, which is when we come into allowance, we're allowing ourselves to flow. We're moving in and out with I like to call it a dance with destiny. And even though those are 6 different stages, we are interweaving each of those again and again and again as we move along our journey. So we always want to be as allowing with ourselves, no matter where we're at in the journey, even if we happen to be going through another awakening process. So that's kind of how I work with people with going through that process.
Wow, so really comprehensive. And you're right, so many of us think it must be the action part. Okay, let's find it and I just keep doing. But there's so much more to it than that alignment with and knowledge and understanding. So
doing that inner soul work.
Yes, because within that, then you can really connect with that knowledge of what is your purpose. And for you, success is connecting and understanding and living your purpose a critical part of being successful?
To me, 1,000% yes. You know, that's the supercharged part, because when you found your purpose, there's a Abraham Maslow quote, who was a famous psychotherapist, says, you know, an artist must paint, you know, a singer must sing if they're ultimately to be at peace with themselves. And that's, to me, what a true purpose is like, you can't not do it. You're just compelled. You know, I took a break from writing. You know, I've written several books on Amazon, and nothing had been coming through, but I know it's a part of how I express. And this weekend, it was like, I just woke up and it was like, there it was. And it's like, oh my gosh, that felt so good to express. That is success. And we have to look at a new definition of success as we move into the new paradigm, which is also shifting from a lot of the old ideals of what it meant to be successful. And for me, I like the term, and what I use is soul success, which is this deeper connection with who we are, with our purpose, with sharing our gifts, and also with being able to make changes in life and let go. And letting go is a big piece of living our purpose, and not trying to hold on to old ideas and old things that we've outgrown.
And old belief patterns, which is the part for me about the rewiring your brain, but old belief patterns and ideas that we've been exposed to in childhood that we're just holding on to, and then just it plays out in how we live our life. But have we stopped to consider if that's really for us, if it's really the right way we want to live? Definitely.
Yeah, we need to examine our own minds, you know, and look at, you know, where we're buying into beliefs that are holding us back. And I would like to say with beliefs, that in the middle of that word is the word lie. So a lot of lies are in the word belief that we've just adopted and kind of lived out. And, you know, rewiring is so important, because when we start opening up our mind to new possibilities and new ways of thinking, we actually do form new neural pathways that start to wire and fire together to think a new way of being, to actually bring about a new way of our own thought pattern. Which is where it all originates, because we cannot possibly take a new action if we're not having a different thought.
No, exactly. So you choose to do that, and then the action follows. So I love the way the picture you painted there of you working on your books and then, you know, painting, etc. The weekend.
Mhm.
And that how for many of us actually it might be the thing that's the easiest to do, that it fills us with joy, and it almost makes me think of in childhood those things that you really enjoyed doing.
Mhm.
Is that often the case, that people, you know, maybe have activities that they just think is just a pastime, but actually it can, for them, they can find a way of connecting with that to be their purpose for their work and how they live their life?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so
Yeah,
many clues along the way.
yeah,
That's one of them. What did you enjoy? What do you do when you're not, when time flies and you don't know it? It's a great thing to just tap into.
and flow.
The other thing I've noticed about purpose is that a lot of what we've done has actually prepared us for our purpose in different ways.
Yeah,
And that nothing is ever like not worthy or not purposeful.
hmm,
But pulling what we can take from each of those kind of prepares us for that next level.
yeah,
But I do talk about the different ways that we express, and sometimes we can get stuck in what I call a persona or masked based purpose, which is kind
yeah,
of like close to what it is, but it's not the real thing.
yes,
And we just have to be kind of careful of that, because that can be what I call a false purpose trap
red
that we
herring.
can get into and fall short of actually being who we were born to be.
Yes, definitely. And one thing that intrigues me is, how do you separate knowing that you're connected with the right purpose, but perhaps you still have that feeling of discontentment, but it may be due to, well, the pressures you have in your life. It's stressful, you're balancing too many things, and it's not that necessarily you're not doing the right work for you or you're not connected with your
Mhm.
purpose, but it's everything else going in your life that's detracting from allowing you to just fully express that purpose.
Can you ask it and just one more other way, just so I can really get that?
Yeah, so what I mean is, I guess for some people that perhaps they feel like they're doing work that
Mhm.
is really
Meaningful.
enriching to them, and
Hmm.
that perhaps fills them with joy, but then they still don't have that joy or that
Mm,
feeling of
the
success.
vitality.
Yeah, the vitality, because there's so many other factors in their life that are pulling them down. Perhaps the stress is,
Right.
it's too busy, they're managing work, they're managing family and a busy home life. So how can you know that you're still on the right purpose, but there's other factors that need to change in your life, as opposed to
Mm.
in the wrong purpose, you're following the wrong purpose?
Yeah, I think it's an individual exploration for sure.
Mm.
I feel like it's kind of like I would ask that person. A
Yeah,
lot of what I do is like getting into our body, because our body knows.
yeah,
And I would go in and I would ask yes or no questions, like to get the guttural response, like a yes or a no, like,
yeah,
do you enjoy going to work? Uh-huh.
yeah,
Or if it was an then there'd be something to look at. Or, do you take enough time for yourself? Do you have a self-care routine? A
yeah,
lot of times when I work with women, especially really hard, supercharged women, I would actually even say, high
yeah,
energy women that can do a lot and that are very competent,
yeah,
they're not taking care of themselves. So they're
uh,
getting pulled in a million different directions, and
yes,
they're losing their vitality
totally.
because of that.
Mm.
So it has to be, an energy thing that we would look at. But I
Mm-hmm.
have seen that quite a bit with women in particular, that
Yeah,
they're doing work that they love and enjoy, but they're just got over too many demands and too many
overwhelmed.
tasks.
Yeah,
And they tend to not be on that top 5 list.
yeah.
So we try to rearrange that so that they can put themselves back, in the proper place.
Definitely. Yeah, and bring it back into alignment. So
Mhm.
I know something you've talked about is we have inner voices that can block our success. Can
Mhm.
you tell us a bit more about that? Some of the ways until that we hold back from achieving our success, or from that we block our own success.
Yeah, we all have, an inner saboteur,
Yeah.
and that part of us was hired by us to keep the status quo, to
Uh-huh.
keep us safe, to keep us sort of at a place where we can manage.
Yeah.
On one hand, it's great; it's doing a great job, but a lot of times it's holding us back from living our purpose or being more vital, having more vitality or joy of life, or embodiment, right? Embodiment. Um, so the saboteurs can be a very common one is the inner critic,
Uh-huh.
right? So that person that just tells you that you're never doing it right, is not enough.
Yeah.
We all have that at
Yeah.
sometimes until we befriend it. I take people through an energetic process where we bring that part
Mhm.
that's working in the background on board with the purpose.
Yeah.
But another voice besides the inner critic is the bully. So the bully would sound real, directive and kind of like, push you around, just kind of make you feel not good enough.
Yeah.
And then another one that I've seen, again, I think this is, I know a lot of women are listening, so I'll speak to women, is the confused voice, right? So we act like we don't know, oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, or I don't know what I need to do more of for myself. And I always just say, if you had a magic wand and you pretended that you do, what would you say? And then they always have an answer. Yeah. But the voice will tell you that you don't know.
Yes.
And so these voices inside our head, if we let them go unchecked, they can be our own worst enemy. Yeah. And we have to, if we want to move forward and supercharge our success and happiness, bring them into the bigger plan. And I really say love them up and befriend them.
Yes.
Versus trying to get rid of them, because there's no part of us that's not welcome in my book.
Yes. And that's a really interesting point, because in doing that, once you befriend them, it's like fear or anxiety. The more you push it down, it comes back up. So the more you knock it off, it's going to scream even louder and come up in a different way. So a powerful transformation when you start to befriend it, understand it's a part of you. I'm sure in doing that, it really releases its power and hold over you and allows you to then see the light somewhat more.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. And I know that you talk about sabotaging ourselves and hiring our inner rock star, which I love. How do you facilitate the women you work with going through that sort of process of firing there?
As you and I were talking, I was thinking how I could best serve those listening to this summit, and I really like to bring forward this idea of firing your pesky inner saboteur and hiring your inner rock star, which is what we're talking about. And what this is that it's a 4 to 6 session energetic coaching process that I take folks through that basically helps them identify and befriend those inner voices, the saboteur, what it's saying, how it's acting out, where it's holding you back. Mm-hmm. We bring that on board, we befriend it, we love it, we tell it it's doing a good job, but then we also give it a new job that's something more in alignment with what they're good at. And then we start to bring in more of our, if you want to call it spiritual self or just inner self, whatever you would call that part of us, that more intuitive, heart-centered place to move us forward. And then we start working together more as like a work team versus having these parts work against us. And that's all an energy process that I work with my quantum success energetics that I've developed.
Wow, so powerful work. And but tell us more about quantum success energetics, because I love that. The term itself is just, I feel energized hearing it.
Good. Yeah, well, it's a transmission of energy. I am an energy healer and a natural one at that. So I didn't know that for a long time, but now I do, and now I can channel it much more effectively. But we're really working at the light body of somebody. So it's not just like trying to work through the mind and, oh my gosh, it would take us like years to, get all the limiting beliefs out of the way. Yeah. We get a lot of stuff out of the energy body through light body healing. Right. And also I work a lot with the emotional body. The emotions are kind of where we get stuck. Really, that's where it's really holding us back more so than even our thoughts in a way. Yeah. A lot of people talk about the thoughts, but I found that it's really, if you work with your heart energy, that actually opens up the field of your creation much more effectively. And so that's what I found. So I do a heart wall healing with that. And with the quantum success energetics, it's really a divinely guided process. So it's me, you, and the client, and that greater, that field of love, moving us through different, moving the energies in different ways. It's never the same way twice, I don't think. But there are a few things that we do address, the saboteur being a big piece, and then also helping people heal the heart walls that they've put up around themselves. Yeah. And also some ancestral things related that aren't even theirs comes up a lot.
So to understand that a bit more, you're saying, obviously we're all energetic beings, and there's a kind of flux of energy completely within us, but say growing up we may have a negative experience that causes an energetic kind of abrupt shift that we can then store that is like
Correct.
trauma, and then we hold that within it, and then that plays out in how we might react in certain situations, and then plays out, you know, further on in how we view the world. So your work then is to uncover and release that. Is that?
Yeah, that's a great. Well, that's a great explanation. That's exactly right. It's like identifying where we got trapped energetically out of fear or despair or grief, or, you know, those lower vibrations, and then bringing those up to be cleared through the light of love and through just intention, you know, because seemingly little things can really get stuck in our systems.
For sure, and particularly when that happens in childhood, when you don't have the capability that you do in adulthood of understanding and filtering and applying logic. You just accept everything as is, and we're so much more vulnerable and, you know, just accepting, so much more open, I guess, more susceptible to those energetic shocks. It's really interesting, I think, in my work as a physician, because I think that can underpin a lot of disease processes, particularly things like cancer, something else. Yeah, that you have those blocks. I saw that actually. I know in Chinese medicine, they believe that certain emotions are associated with the organs, so sadness and grief with the lungs, etc. I think that's really powerful that you work to unblock that, because so many of us don't, and live with those kind of jolts and blockages that are playing out with not only our success and not allowing us to achieve success in all areas of our lives, as we said, financial abundance, happiness, general
health.
Exactly, but health, that critical thing. So do you see transformation with the women you work with? Does it play out in all areas of their lives?
It really does. I mean, I've worked with people that were on antidepressants pretty hard, and we worked together just a few times, and they got off those meds. I see a lot of people looking healthier, happier, right? Because when you unload those emotional blocks, you look better, you feel better, you get that energy back, you get that spring in your step. And emotional, you know, it's both emotional and it's psychological relief, because a lot of times, you know, those are all related. If you, like you said, if you get sick, you're typically not thinking very healthy thoughts, you're not feeling very good. It's all that holistic system. So once you start unraveling that, then all those things can start realigning for themselves. And that's what real success is about, is that holistic, things are working in your life, you know, and none of that really has to do with the traditional version of money. And abundance is great and all that, but there's abundance in all aspects of your life.
Definitely.
And feeling good, I think, is the greatest outcome, and feeling happy.
Yeah. That's exactly that joyful state of flow, of harmony, of lightness, of everything, just not feeling stuck, as it were. That definitely powerful. And obviously the most powerful way to do that is to work with someone like yourself, who's trained in that modality, in various modalities, to help with shifting energies. But for our viewers watching now, is there anything that you might suggest they can start to do now to either identify some blocks or start shifting anything?
I would love to give them a little handy dandy assignment of over the next, I would say, 72 hours, which is 3 days. You know, get a little journal or, you know, on your phone, and just monitor your emotional states. So when you get triggered, you know, what happened? How did you feel? How did you respond? Got triggered at lunch. What happened? How did you respond? Got triggered when I got home. You know, and get like about 20 or 30 little nuggets, and you'll have a really pretty clear view of how you're running your system.
So interesting, because it's seemingly a simple task to do, right? But how many of us just are blinkered, and we're just living out the same thing in and out, but without observing it and noticing it. And once you start to look at those patterns, wow, what an eye opener! Oh wow, I am doing the same thing. Can you imagine?
It's one of those really simple things that will be like, oh yeah, I'll do it, but you won't. But if you do it, I promise, even if you get 10 or 20 awarenesses of like, wow, look, I'm feeling angry a lot, or I'm feeling sad a lot. I mean, sometimes it makes perfect sense because we know if we're feeling sad a lot, it's pretty obvious. But we can start dissecting it a bit more to become psychic detectives to go, oh, I see where the trigger is, and now I get to have choice. And then, you know, and a coaching piece to add to this is that when you do start to get triggered, I'm starting to teach my clients and myself more and more that we have choices over how we feel. Yeah. So my go-to statement whenever people get triggered is to stop, to take a breath and say, I can choose peace instead of this. Yes. Right? So I can choose peace instead of this. And it's, again, so simple. Yeah. You know, but these are the things that work, and we just have to practice them. That's all. And so you could add that to your you know, repertoire if you want to give it a try. I'm telling you, it will change things for you. And so it doesn't have to be hard. Yeah, rather than feeling, oh, that things are happening to me, but actually it's all absolutely within my internal kind of reaction and how I experience it. Totally, I choose to do that. And I know an area of your expertise is around energetic blocks and how that affects our abundance and money. Can you tell us a bit more? You talk about money monsters and gremlins, what they are and how they play out. Yeah, so helping people get clear on where they're fearful of money, where they have shut down their receiving, where they're energetically blocking things from coming in, specifically getting paid what you're worth, you know, to do work that you love. That's a real common block, you know, getting paid what you're worth for doing what you love. Those two things together. You know, sometimes we can make money doing something that we don't love, right? But we haven't been able to translate that into like actually loving what you do. So that's the piece that I work with. And again, I'm so passionate about it because, you know, these are the folks that are going to change the world and bring about, you know, the positive outcomes that we're looking for. But they also have to pay their bills. Yeah. And I'm a very down-to-earth, mystical woman. Yeah. You know, I could be out there. I can be out there, really out there. But I always bring it back down to earth because if our lives and our businesses aren't working at the level that they could be, then all that mystical stuff, you know, is not that useful in my opinion. True. So we have to bring it together. And I do my best to bring it together, make it real for folks so that they can address and really bring to light and to love those hidden little subconscious patterns and mental monsters that are just holding them back. And I think that's we're going to talk about that later when we talk about what, you know, offering to give a few sessions so people can experience it. Yes, well, that was something actually I was going to ask. I know that you, because I thought it led quite into that, you very generously have a wonderful free gift for our viewers, which will be posted below, the link to that. So make sure you click on the button below. So yeah, Michelle, if you can tell us about that, that'd be great. Well, I decided, you know, I'm actually on a couple summits in the spring, but instead of just giving my traditional gift, I wanted to do something different because I really resonate with the message and with what you're doing, Celine. Thank you. And so I wanted to extend, now it is limited because I can only do it for 10 people, but 10 complimentary sessions, 30 minutes on the phone, where I can help you identify what your mental monsters are, if there's a saboteur running, you know, how it's kind of showing up, and some things to look for so that you can start shifting it right away. Yeah. And that's what I would like to do for folks because I feel like that's where they're going to get the most bang. And also I believe that at this point in our evolution, we don't need more information. I mean, I can give you my book and you should give my book and read it for sure. It's a good book. But we need application. And that's where talking with somebody and actually having somebody witness you and hold space for you is really gonna make the biggest move for you. Reflect that mirror. So that's what I'm excited to do. Yeah, thank you so much. Really generous. So make sure you quick and download now. Just press below. There's a button down below to access that. So thank you very much for that. That's fantastic. Yes. So I know that we're drawing to a close and I feel we've just started to touch the tip of the iceberg with this, but what would you say to our viewers that are looking to supercharge their success? Anything else that you think is resonates? Let me feel into our group here just for a second. I would say that you already know who you are and you know why you're here on a deep level. To start trusting yourself. Yeah. And very importantly, to find somebody to mentor and be with that you resonate with, that can help you unlock what you do know.
Yes.
Because a lot of us know ourselves, but we need to honor ourselves. That's a very important part of this transformational process.
Mm-hmm.
And honoring means putting into practice the things that you are aware of and not just knowing about them. We have to push past the tendency to add more information and actually move into application.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think sometimes you can do that. You kind of learn. Okay, well, if I find out a bit more, maybe it'll be the missing piece. But sometimes it's just stepping into that action, and so much supercharging for sure. Once you work with somebody or can find someone that can shine the light with you and help you sort of through that process, because it's easy to kind of step halfway through, maybe be caught by fear, but to really guide you through for sure. Absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you so much. That's been wonderful, and I actually wish we could go on for more, but it's been brilliant. We've carried on for so much, so thank you so much for joining me, Michelle. That's been brilliant.
Thank you.
Bye now.